Welcome, everyone. This is our session on AI for leaders. And today we're going to talk about how you can generate increases in productivity and ROI. So I'm just going to, which I probably should have done before we started the recording, is get to the right tab and not show you Kurt's email. Now, bear in mind that when I'm sharing, I can only see, at the moment, I can only see Kurt. So as I said, if you do have any questions, please just call out and we'll stop and have a chat. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Hill. I'm an AI transformation expert, and my mission is to help empower human potential with AI. Now, I'm a consultant with a group called Simple AI. My background is sales and marketing in both food manufacturing and business-to-business packaging. I am a business and results coach. For those of you that it matters for, I do actually have an MBA from the University of Queensland, but that was quite some years ago now. And I get a lot of my inspiration through adventure travel. That's where I step outside of my comfort zone and really challenge myself. So, fun fact, if anybody is thinking about going to Nepal or Tibet, you should speak to me because I also work with a trekking agency in Nepal. Now, what we're going to do today is a bit of an introduction, an AI overview, and then I'm going to talk about how AI can look at your specific role, whether you work in a business or you're a business owner, and help you to do that faster and easier. And then at the end, we're going to do some demonstrations and you will get to have a play as well. Now, from my perspective and most of the people that I work with, the purpose of AI is to amplify what our potential is. We're not looking to replace people. What we're trying to do is help people do their role faster and easier, and understanding that when you actually use AI every day in all of your business operations, you will unlock some productivity, efficiency, and innovation. Now, you can also think of AI as your collaborative partner or your strategic decision-making partner. So there's all different ways that you can look at using AI. Now, just an aside, when I'm saying AI, I do most of my work in Chat GPT, but pretty much everything that I'm going to talk about today or show you today can also be done in any of the other large language model platforms, such as Claude or, and my mind has gone blank now, Copilot. Now, I just mentioned as well, a lot of people that I talk to, they're familiar with large language models like Chat GPT, but they're using it to create content or review emails or come up with ideas, but they're not actually using it as their strategic thought partner. So when you start to understand a little bit more about what is actually possible with ChatGPT or AI, I might say AI because that's quicker. You will actually be surprised at how many different things you can actually use this for. So in terms of working with AI, when I first started using ChatGPT, I used to get very frustrated because I didn't seem to be able to get it to give me the answers that I thought I wanted. But and as the models have got better, obviously with memory now, it's a lot easier. I mean, because my particular platform, I've used it a lot and I have a lot of things saved in the memory. So I can just say things like, given what you know about me and my business, please, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have to outline every time I start exactly who I am and what I'm doing. But the more context that you give, the better the outcomes. And also a lot of people say, oh yeah, but the answers aren't real or it makes mistakes. Yes, it does. But you can ask it to justify the answers and defend what it's come up with. For example, if I'm asking for something that I'm going to reference perhaps in my newsletter, I always ask for what is the source and give me a clickable link to check that. Now, AI and me. So I'd be interested to know, you don't have to share, but when we look at what you yourself personally have done, there's a lot of continuums we can look at, and this is just one of them. And for some people, like they haven't even created any LLM account yet. They've heard about it, but they've not done anything. Some people, it's emerging. They're just beginning to explore the possibilities. For some people, they're developing a deeper understanding, and they're actually using it with some clear applications and outcomes in mind. And then when you get to advanced, that's when we're fully integrated across multiple processes. It's not just one little prompt. It might be a whole series of prompts, or it might be a whole series of GPTs linked together. And then, of course, optimized, where your AI capabilities are refined and optimized. And this is when you get to that stage of a business where you're in that continuous improvement phase. Now, I'm part of, as I mentioned, Simple AI. So we're a community of over 100 fractional executives all around the world with a wide range of industry experience and knowledge. And we've all been in your shoes. It doesn't matter what stage you're at, particularly if you're at the beginning stage. And as I mentioned, I used to find it very frustrating, but that was because like I didn't really understand what I was doing. Now, I'm not sure how much you've all been following, but we've been analyzing and looking at what we're calling an AI-driven workforce. So in here, when we say there's 5 levels of knowledge work, so if you're doing a planning process, and you normally start with your big objectives, you break it down into projects, into deliverables, into tasks, then into actions. Now, a lot of times when people are actually planning, they get to about this stage or maybe this stage, but it's a lot of plans never actually get implemented. It's a great quarterly or annual planning session, maybe off site, and then you come back and the day-to-day things take over and you never actually get to do the actions. Well, particularly with AI, the doing starts down the bottom with your actions that build into tasks, that build into your deliverables, that build into your projects, that build into your objectives. Now, we, with AI development, and again, I'm not 100% sure of everybody's level of knowledge, but when Chat GPT and the other large language models were originally introduced, we are at the stage of chatbots. So I'll show you some chatbots in a little bit, where you can generate output with not a lot of input. And recently, with the release of the O1 model for Chat GPT, we're now into the reasoning stage. And then we're guesstimating that over the next 10 years, we're going to move to agents, then to innovators, and then to organizations. So some of what I listen to, it does sound a little bit almost science fiction, where you'll have independent agents actually almost running a business and acting autonomously. And for some people, that's not a really good thought. But also, I also wanted to talk about the orders of time magnitude. So you can have tasks that take weeks or days or hours or minutes or seconds. And it's how long does it take to actually create the value? And then the flip side of that is how long can generative AI, which is what Chat GPT is, and a large language model, how long can it work autonomously? Now, we're still down here where it can only work by itself for seconds. When the O1 model was released, we actually managed to get it to think for almost a minute and sometimes a little bit over a minute. We actually had a competition in our consultants group to see who could get it to think the longest. And I think it was about 68 seconds. So we're still down here, but what I want you to start thinking about too is that when we get to this stage where it can work autonomously for hours at a time, or then days and weeks, this is when we're going to be down around this area as well. Now, what I've got down here is essentially what I'm starting to see, particularly with people who've really adopted using a large language model. So you've got your large language model, and you may have some specialized AI workflow tools. Like one of my colleagues, she has a specific chatbot which is for legal work. So she treats that as her assistant. And then all the other software that we have, most of that is all AI enabled these days. And eventually what we're going to get to is what we're calling the AI CV. So for people, particularly younger people coming through, these are the sort of skills that they're going to need, like when they're looking for their perhaps first job. And this is a new term that I just heard recently, new collar. Instead of blue collar and white collar workers, now we're talking about new collar workers. Now, as I mentioned, there's 5 stages of AI development, and we have just reached the reasoning stage. And our focus at the moment is to help you understand, 1, how to use chatbots, and 2, how the reasoning model can really help you with your problem solving and growing your AI capability. So for some people, there's this like mystery box in the middle, and they're over here where it's like, I know I need to do something about this, but where do I start? What do I do? To getting over here where they've got a good understanding, but they're still wanting to see how far they can take this. So for us, and I'm going to use the analogy of crawl, walk, run, which is often what you get told as a business owner, like, don't try and do everything at once. So that's where I fit into the picture. So you might be at the crawl stage where, you are actually using a large language model and you're finding it beneficial, but you're not actually sure how to get those really quite significant productivity gains and time saving. So that's where the BlackBelt training comes in. And I'm going to not call Kurt out here, but Kurt is one of my students at the moment. He's halfway through his black belt training. So we're up to blue belt this week, which we'll be doing tomorrow. And pretty soon he'll be running with Chat GPT or any other large language model that he chooses to use. So our goal is to take you through the AI transformation method, where we actually equip every single employee in the organization with the capability to produce every single role deliverable in their role, and we help you to create the role plan. faster and easier with AI. And that's where we start to see these actual transformational productivity gains at the organizational level and also at the individual level. So let's address the elephant in the room. Like, can AI really help you do your job faster and easier? Well, in our experience, yes, it can. It actually knows, it knows your job. It knows every single job on the planet. And it also knows how it can help you as well. So it can help you do your role. And when I say job, I'm talking about role. So for business owners, this is your role in the business, or if you are working for somebody, this is your role in the organization. But I know that we can show you how to do your role faster and easier. And that's going to improve the productivity. And for people who work in an organization, the promotability and also your value on the open market. And for business owners, this here, productivity boost, that translates into additional time for you and additional dollars in the bank. Now, sorry, I was going to say, I do have a demo to run for you when we get to the demo stage, and that will show you how we can actually create your role plan in literally a minute or so. And then, can AI provide solutions to real problems? Well, it actually does know your challenges. It doesn't matter what challenge you put in, it's going to know. It's also going to know multiple solutions. And if you can, you should start to think about AI as your expert thought companion. Now, how is what we do different? Now, what we've experienced, now these results were measured after our white belt training with a cohort. And you can see all the different roles here, the different deliverables they worked on. And this is an annualized time saving. And then we've calculated out a dollar value for the first hour of gains. And on average, that's $4,000 per employee or person who goes through the training. Now, the other thing that you'll notice on here is this nice little bit of red here. Not everybody is always on board with what we do, but what we have found is that as we move through the training, the people who start off here normally become our biggest advocates. Now, the other thing is we talk about being more efficient, increasing engagement, and increasing effectiveness. Now, this is information that's taken at the end of the black belt. So there's 8 training sessions. And whilst you can see, like, we don't have a perfect 10 out of 10, for employee efficiency, engagement, and effectiveness, these numbers are actually pretty good. And this is based on, we are only going to get better from here. Now, I've mentioned a few times our black belt training, and this is why we know that we can get these highly predictable results for people. And I offer, for anybody who does my training, a 333% ROI guaranteed, assuming that you submit a transformation report for each of the belts that we go through. So we start off at white belt, and it's literally about getting comfortable with how you interact with the LLM, how to use AI in your role, how to use AI as your cognitive assistant, how to build some assistants. So this is where we start building chatbots, how to improve your performance 100-fold in different areas and through problem solving, exploring the future of your role, working with AI agents. Now, we're using agents in the terminology here of a series of chatbots that are linked together, and they don't run autonomously like the agents I was talking about before, which Sorry, we probably should change that terminology because it could be a little bit confusing, but it still needs some input at different steps along the way. And then in Black Belt, we look at automation and API. So what's holding people back? So there's 5 stages of AI psychological transformation. So like for a lot of people, they think it's just simply about introducing some AI tools and giving them to their staff or getting them for themselves and off you go. But particularly in an employee situation, there's often the fear that these tools are going to take their job. And a lot of what we look at is it's not about taking people's jobs, it's about giving them the skills to actually do their job a lot easier. So we see this happen time and time again, where when we start the training, quite often we're here. For some people, they're already using Chat GPT, but there's no policy in the office. So they're kind of like stealthily using it, or they submit something that they might get praise for, but they don't want to admit that it was actually created with the help of AI. And then we move into confidence and transformation. So we could say like, well, how come we didn't know about this? But you can see, and this is a graph of search volume, and the blue is for AI tools, and the red is for AI psychological safety. So there's been this massive like you've got to get this AI tool or you've got to use this prompt, but nobody's really thought to like, what is the impact on people in the organization, and how can we actually make sure that impact is positive and not negative? Now, I'm going to like talk to this as if you are in an organization, but where it says organization, what I want you to substitute is industry. So if you take this opportunity, you can become the AI hero in your industry or your organization, because it is going to happen. Somebody is going to bring an AI solution to your organization or to your industry. And if you're the leader, that'll happen now because of you, and you will get the social capital gains for that. If you follow, it's still going to happen, but you're going to be, dare I say it, behind the wave, not in front of the wave. And literally, this is an opportunity that only comes around once or maybe in our lifetime, because I'm sure some of us have been around for a little while, twice in a lifetime. But think about it that way, that, you know, if you grasp this opportunity, and you might not even be sure what that looks like for you yet, but I would encourage you to at least think about how you can become part of being at the front of the wave rather than behind the wave. Now, if you would like to work with me, we work in 3 simple steps. We do a workshop where we create your role plan. We start off with a draft, and then we work through until we get to around about 90 or 95% happy with what you've got. I don't think we're ever going to get to 100% happy, and it's not a static document. It will change over time. So we're not striving for perfection, we're striving for progress in this case. Then once we have your role plan, then we go through the 8 steps of the BlackBelt training. And as I mentioned before, there is a guarantee on your investment. And then the third part of all of this is we track your progress. So after every belt, we get you to actually tell us what did you do? How did you apply your learnings to your role deliverable or what you're working on at the moment? How much time did it take before AI? How much time did it take now? How much time do you think that's going to save you each month? And then how satisfied are you with what's going on? Now, this is the reason why we are so confident that you will see these productivity gains, because we actually measure everything. And a lot of training that I've heard of, it gives you lots of information, but it's not about the doing and the actual applying and keeping track of what you're doing. So 12:30, I'm bang on time. Does anybody have any questions before I run a couple of demonstrations for you? Everybody still there? Okay, so the first one I'm going to run for you is a marketing tool built by, and I'm going to correct this on the fly because I have a spelling mistake here. Right. Now, one of the members in our consulting group, in his, well, I'm not going to say past life because he still does it, is actually a marketing agency owner, and he's written a GPT which will give an entire sequence of understanding the agent's new customer and producing some emails for that customer. So I'm just going to swap. Now, did that swap to Chat GPT?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Got it right. Somehow I did one where I was talking away for about 5 minutes and somebody said, I'm not sure what we're supposed to be seeing, but I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So, and this is how a chatbot works. It will come up and it will just describe to you, like, this is what we're going to work on. So you simply click, let's get started. Now here it's asking for some context. So I'm just going to put in the suggestion there. Now you can put, with these chatbots, you can put as much or as little context as possible. And you'll see as we work through, yes, let's get started, that with minimal input from me or any other operator. So what we've done now is the first person in this process is the psychology expert, and they're doing an assessment of the ideal customer for this agency. And they're looking at the dreams, they're looking at the past failures, they're looking at the fears, the suspicions, the enemies. Now, this is all what is built in the back end. So if you're thinking, oh, this doesn't apply to me, it doesn't matter, because you can create your own GPTs. Now let's move on to the next step. So now we're looking at the brand story, and I'm not sure if any of you work in a marketing field, but this is quite critical, and a lot of people use the hero's journey when they're creating brand story and marketing. Now we're going to the copywriter. So what you can see is we're giving Chat GPT all these various roles to perform the task for us. Now, let's say we want 3 emails Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can see I can just abbreviate it. It's very good at figuring out what is it that I'm trying to tell it. And obviously, if it's wrong, then you can just change it. Right. So here's our 3 emails. Now, for a lot of people, this is where they might stop in terms of, and this is a little freebie for you. This is like the first pass. So these are okay, but now what we're going to do is we're going to get some feedback from a creative director and just see what we could possibly do to improve those emails. So now here's some feedback on what changes we could have. And now we get the final draft. Now, in a normal agency, this whole process could take quite some time. And I'm talking a number of weeks, because to do the psychology evaluation and the brand story is quite time consuming. And I'm not saying copywriters and creative directors don't take a little bit of time, but now let's say we're ready to wrap up the project. And because this is a demonstration for you, now it's going to tell you, if without AI, this is an estimate of how long it would have taken to prepare the psychology report, the brand story expert, the copywriter, and the creative director. So for a project like this, if you went to a marketing agency, you could pay anything from, $10,000 upwards, versus if you do something like this with AI, then it's done in a few minutes and it really hasn't cost you that much at all. Any questions? I'm not going to jump back to my slides. I'm going to...
Sorry, yeah, question is,
Yeah.
I noticed just at the bottom of the screen where you were just putting in a simple Y.
Yeah, that's a yes. Y for yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to be like, if you make spelling mistakes, or if you don't write the full word, it will kind of assume what you mean. So if I didn't mean yes and I just put Y in and it went off and did something, I could say, no, Y doesn't mean that. I want you to do this. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
All right. So let's have a look at the other one I talked to you about. So this is a demo, and this will show you how we actually develop somebody's AI role plan. Again, the Let's Get Started button. Right, so does anybody want to volunteer their role? Do you want to have a look at yours?
My role is sales, business development. Happy to use that.
Sales and business
Business development, yes.
Can't even spell today. And what sort of company are you at, Lyle? Is it a manufacturing or a...
An industrial services company, maintenance services. And if it helps, our primary target market is FMCG.
Right. Well, I could have put that in, but I already went ahead. Sorry.
It was already giving us info. Okay.
Yeah, so again, this is the first draft. So we call it, calling it the efficiency matrix. So these are the things that in your role you would be expected to deliver. So it's got prospecting and lead gen, CRM, sales strategy, market analysis, proposal development, pipeline, sales, team collaboration, etc. Now you'll notice underneath that it's broken each of those down into 8 different things that you would normally do. Now, this is all based on the Harada matrix of the 8x8. And we do a lot of our thinking in these matrices because it helps to really clarify things. And it shows you, like, if you do all of these 8 things really well, then you will deliver that part of the role really well. Now, not only do we have deliverables, but in a role you also have KPIs. So this is your effectiveness. These are the things that you need to deliver to the organization to be effective in your role. And again, we've broken that down into 8. Okay, so let's regenerate. That happens to me sometimes. Sometimes it won't work at all for me when I'm doing a demonstration. Now, what you'll notice is this won't be exactly the same as the first time because it's not a computer program, it's generative AI. So each time, all right, so let's move on to the next one. So it's not doing exactly what it did last time, but that is the joys of generative AI. And each time you run something, you will get slightly different outcomes, and it will depend on also how much context that you put in. So now we have both of those. Now, what we do in our yellow belt training is we teach you how to actually produce one of your role deliverables faster and easier. Now, so Lyle, seeing we're doing you, would you like to choose one of those that we can delve into a little bit deeper? Let me just move that out the way.
Let's go with a cold outreach script. Is that okay?
That's fine. Okay, so now what it's going to do is give you, and as I said, this is what we would teach you to do in the yellow belt. Instead of just saying, this is what you need to do, what we're actually doing is we are creating the prompts that you would then take and input into an LLM, and that will give you the outcome, and will create the role deliverable for you. So you can see there that there is 10 prompts. So Lyle, if you took these and one by one put them into Chat GPT, after we put the context in the top where this is what you're looking for and your target market, you would find that you will get quite a good, like, might be a first draft that you have to work on a little bit, but it will save you a lot of time. And I'm just going to show you. This is Chat GPT calculating out. If you did this without AI, this is going to take you around about 8 hours. And if you did it with AI, 2.5 hours. And Lyle, it only thinks that you get $50 an hour. So I hope that's not insulting.
That's okay.
Now let's look at if we applied AI across all of the role deliverables, what sort of time frame you would be looking at each month. So we've got it set up to say, a typical 160-hour month. So what we're saying here is if we applied AI to all of your role deliverables, you're going to save roughly between 50 and 60% of your time. Now, there's a number of ways that you can approach looking at that. And there's the time saving and the payroll productivity impact. So for an organization, what you could do is create a fractional role if you still want the same output. You could keep the same payroll spend but increase the output, or you could keep the same payroll spend, keep the same productivity, but free up time for that person in the organization to actually look forward and be proactive rather than reactive. And I know from my time in business and corporate that having that time to do extra things can be really hard to buy, but it is so important to be able to do that. Now, I'm also, now, Lyle, I can send you some of this afterwards if you're interested, but I'm just going to jump back to the presentation because I have, and I am conscious that we've got to 12:44 and it's taken me way longer to do the demos than I actually planned. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and copy this. And what I'm going to do is put this in the chat for everyone. Now, what I was planning to do was that we would all run it and then talk about it. But as I said, I've talked for too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you. So I'm just putting that URL into a new tab. And it doesn't like what I'm doing. So let me just fix this up. Right. So now you all have that link. After the webinar, you can put this into a new tab and you can have a play with what would Dr. Joe Dispenza do to help you with something you're working on right now. For those of you who are not familiar with Joe Dispenza, he does a lot of mindset work and working on how you can improve yourself and just change the way you think about things. So just to show you what it will look like, I'll just run it quickly here. So what area would you like? Okay, so what would I like support on? I'm going to say better daily routine. And we're thinking a lot today. Normally it goes a lot quicker. So this particular chatbot has been set up to ask you clarifying questions so that each time it asks you a question, and I'm just going to put some answers in so that we can keep moving. Each time it asks you a question, the next question is predicated on the answer that you give to the first one. And let me get rid of that. And so as you can see now, it's asking me questions that are based on the answer to my first one. And I'll go see. So we can keep going on that. And then I'm not even reading these. I'm just putting answers in at this stage just to quickly show you how you can have a play with this. And I'll say A. So now it's come up with some solutions of what you could actually do to solve this problem. So it's giving me options in terms of, these are from his different books and the work that he's done. So if we said, okay, we want to look at solution number 4, it will then come up with an action plan for number 4. So I am going to leave that there. Please make sure that you've copied that from the chat. And I hope that all makes sense for you. Apologies. Next time I think I'll run the demos beforehand so we can just talk through them. But I would really like to hear back from you when you have played with that. A, if you found it helpful, and B, did you come up with something that surprised you? Now that's all I've got. Open for questions or comments or anything else at the moment.
No real questions, just quite amazing how quickly that was pumping out information.
Yeah.
Couldn't keep up with it. Yeah, amazing.
That's where the time saving comes in, Lyle.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that, people might look at it and say, well, that's not, I can't just run with that as it is. No, maybe you can't. Maybe you need to edit it. Maybe you need to change the prompts a little bit. But when you've got a framework to start with, and then you're just going to edit that. That is a lot quicker than when you go, okay, to create a plan around, I don't know, marketing on Facebook, or, client retention, or generating more leads. And you kind of sort of know where to start, but sometimes it can be difficult. And whatever you generate, again, it's not cast in stone. You don't have to do exactly what is generated, but if you can even just take a part of it and say, expand on this bit for me, or this is where I want my focus to go, then you've actually saved yourself a lot of time. And as I said, in our training, when we teach you not only to create the framework, but how you can create the right prompts that you need so that you can actually implement the framework that you've come up with, that's where the real magic starts to happen. And feel free to step in anytime, Kurt. Tell them about your experience.
Sure. The prompts are something absolutely fantastic, because I've just been through it very, very recently, and knowing how to structure it and the syntax that you need to put there, the specifics it comes up with is just breathtaking. And also when you work with Chat GPT or perhaps some other platform, there's ways of educating it to really know you for who you are and what you do. And when that happens, it's absolutely breathtaking, because it's almost like a human being is next to you talking, and being very specific, very, very personal. And Michelle, I've said this often to you, you find yourself saying please and thank you and all these sort of human type interaction things, when actually fact you're talking to a machine. So people who say, oh, look, it's too American or whatever else, it's only because they do not know how to work with it to have it working for you. And you can find weeks later, when you ask it other questions, it goes back to what you do for a living, and this is what I would do. If I was coaching someone, this is what I do, etc. It is really like having an intelligent human being next to you that gives you the information. It gives you the opportunity of just kickstarting thoughts if you've got a mental blank, as we all get from time to time. It's just absolutely breathtaking. It really is.
And the other thing I'd add to what Curtis said too is that often when we have to do something that we haven't done before, or we have a problem that we're not sure how to solve, we will go looking for an expert in the field, or a book to help us, or some information. But sometimes it's a bit chicken and egg, because you actually don't know what expert is world renowned in that particular field or in that particular problem. But if you set up a structure where you can say, okay, here's the problem, now come up with 8 different experts that can help me solve this specific problem, and tell me why, and all that sort of stuff. And again, we've got a matrix and a framework that I can show you how to do that. But then you have the starting point. And I think that's the really important bit, is having that starting point. You can read through what it's offered you. If you don't like any of it, all you have to do is say, which I do quite often, I don't like that, give me something else, or I don't like these because of this, this, and this. And then you just start the process again. And for me, what I feel like is I can just draw on anything that's out there, and help me do my role so much better. And I know from having started a online business with my partner, about 7 or 8 years ago now, where we knew absolutely nothing about being in the digital space or websites or anything. Had I had all of these experts to help me then, our path would have been a lot smoother, and we probably would have had less heated business discussions. Now, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot and say, do you want to have a conversation with me? But what I am going to do is I will be sending you all out a link to the replay in case you would like to watch this again. So you will have a way to reach out to me if you would like to continue this conversation or have a conversation around specifically how this could help you. And I am also interested in your feedback once you have a play with the Joe Dispenza bot, just to see what you got out of it and whether it was helpful or not. And mind you, if that one isn't helpful, I've got hundreds more. Because I know how to create them, I can do them. And for you guys, if you would like to, because Kurt knows how to create his own bots now too. I taught him that last week.
You
So.
did too. You did too.
Now I'm just going to stop the recording.